Hello, today is Friday, May 28th, and this is another episode of Friday 5 at 5 with Denver Public Library. My name is Lainey. I'm a librarian at DPL's Central Library, and in 15 minutes or less, we'll have you up to speed on 5 new titles that we can't wait for you to read or listen to. Exciting virtual event alert! Join DPL, Tattered Cover, and author Ocean Vuong in a live stream celebration of the paperback release of Vuong's blockbuster novel, On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Tuesday, June 1st, 5 o'clock. Find out how to register for free at the link below. And now on to this month's titles. At number 1, we have The ATMOSPHERIANS by Alex McElroy. Print book available now, ebook and e-audio on Overdrive. In their darkly humorous, irreverent debut novel, McElroy introduces readers to wellness influencer Sasha Marcus, recently fallen from grace following a run-in gone sour with an online troll. Her life and livelihood in sudden disarray, an eviction notice looming and men's rights activists protesting outside her door, Sasha is an easy target for her childhood friend Dyson's bonkers yet eerily plausible scheming. Mindfulness is the swamp of aspiring quacks, he says. Me and you, we're starting a cult. Calling themselves the Atmospherians, and absent any sort of concrete plan or curriculum, they enlist the membership of 12 middle-aged white men looking to reform themselves. Among them, the cheating man and the man obsessed with his college glory days, for example, and set up shop on a plot of land Dyson's recently inherited in New Jersey. Dyson, for his part, develops an unorthodox meal and labor regimen for the group, and Sasha punctuates with therapy sessions, the goal being to release them from their rage and machismo. But then, Sasha gets a new and tempting job offer, and her friendship with Dyson begins to wear thin. Meanwhile, so-called man-hordes continue to confound society with acts of destruction interspersed with acts of off-puttingly benign character, like landscaping, window washing, and animal rescue. McElroy skewers toxic masculinity and the constantly online both here. A witty, blissfully unhurried satire for fans of Lee Stein's Self-Care or Yorgos Lanthimos' 2015 film The Lobster, starring Colin Farrell and Rachel Weisz. At number 2 this time, Punch Me Up to the Gods, a memoir by Brian Broome, available in print and as an ebook on Overdrive. Rave reviews are pouring in for this memoir, organized around the spare, searing stanzas of Gwendolyn Brooks's iconic poem, We Real Cool. Broome, a poet himself, recounts growing up gay and black in 1970s, 1980s Ohio. Whatever it was, I already knew by 10 years old that I didn't have it, he begins. But, as fellow memoirist Darnell L. Moore points out, from there, he reveals that Black queer men are their own best creations. Broome vividly, lyrically, and often hilariously, despite the heaviness of the subject matter, describes the environment and the many events that shaped his understandings of his race, his color, his gender, and himself as a young boy. A boy pushed to see manhood as one single, inflexible, impossible thing, but a thing that must be maintained at all costs. He recounts early incidents with his parents, his father beating him, that is, punching him back up to the gods, after happening upon him playing with dolls, his mother filled with worry and pity after he finally convinces her to buy him a pink shirt at the store. Later on, he unpacks his relationships to the gay club scene and addiction, and we meet him as he embarks on a pilgrimage to James Baldwin's Paris. The incident he returns to again and again throughout the book, however, is not one that involves him directly. It's one that he witnessed. A father at a bus stop on the black side of town telling his son Tuan to buck up and stop crying, to be a man. Broome uses Tuan and his father as a lens through which he can examine his own relationship with his father and manhood at some remove, and a way to bring fellow black men and boys closer. He ends Punch Me Up to the Gods with a letter to Tuan and a letter to black men and boys everywhere, himself included, I think. For more in this vein, check out Buck by M.K. Asante or Heavy, an American memoir by Kiese Lehman. Rock Eaters by Brenda PEYNADO is our third title today, available in print and on Overdrive as an ebook and e-audiobook. Horror, sci-fi, fantasy, and the surreal commingle with questions of class, immigration, and nationalism in this debut collection from Dominican-American writer PEYNADO, who teaches fiction and screenwriting at the University of Central Florida. In Thoughts and Prayers, silent, bird-like angels preside over a suburban neighborhood, delivering fortune or misfortune in equal measure. Another story pits two preteen girls against one another on the tennis court. Yaisa, a scholarship girl, and the narrator, whose family has hired Yaisa's grandmother as their latest housekeeper. In The Kite Maker, set 12 years after the crash landing and eventual wipeout of a leggy, purple-faced alien race, centers on the destructiveness of xenophobia and groupthink in the wake of major change and upsets to the prevailing social order. And in the title story, a group of adolescents on an unnamed Latin American island develops the ability to fly and jets off to faraway lands. Later, they return to their home island, bringing their foreign-born children and fancy gifts from the mainland for their parents. When some of these foreign-born children discover their own capacities for flight, however, while on the island, they decide to remain tethered to their ancestral land, eating rocks and dirt to keep from floating away. If you enjoy PEYNADO's stories, try the similarly subversive speculative story collections Land of Big Numbers by Taeping Chen, Folk Songs for Trauma Surgeons by Keith Rawson, or Insurrections by Ryan Amilcar Scott. Next is Angel and Hannah by ISHLE Yi Park, print book available and on Overdrive in ebook and e-audio formats. It's a familiar love story. New York City, 1993. The daughter of Korean immigrants, Hannah, 16, lives in Queens, a straight-A student held in horrified thrall to her parents' abusive relationship. Angel, a Puerto Rican boy and aspiring pilot, also 16, deals drugs and lives in Brooklyn. The two meet one fateful spring at a quinceañera and fall for each other hard in this West Side Story, in the Heights-esque reimagining of Romeo and Juliet, related in gritty, dreamy, vernacular-inflected verse that pays occasional tender homage to 90s hip-hop and the myriad banal pleasures of city living. Doritos, popsicles, hand-rolled blunts, for example. Beyond flushed, sweating bodies, pushing like cattle below black and buzzing speakers, under a torn pink streamer, loose as a tendril of hair, lush, his eyes, dark luminous, warm. A blush floods her. Hannah sucks in her breath, but can't pull back. Music fades, a hush. He's a young buck in the underbrush, still in a disco ball dance of shadow and light. All that ever is, was, will be. He. A deep longing floods her, and she, black-haired raven, might startle, take flight at any breath, leave only a rush of wing. But neither turns to flee. They stare bold-faced into fate or destiny. We follow the star-crossed lovers through the turning of 4 seasons as they weather the impacts of violence, poverty, addiction, betrayal, cultural differences, and the onset of the AIDS epidemic. By the summer, Hannah's parents have disowned her, and she's moved with Angel to a cramped apartment in Bushwick. By winter, you can imagine their fate. Park is, notably, the first woman to be named the Poet Laureate of Queens, And she's also the vocalist and island acoustic musician Lanny. Check out her music at the link below. After Angel and Hannah, give another experimental format novel a try with David Rakoff's Love, Dishonor, Marry, Die, Cherish, Perish, or Little Scratch by Rebecca Watson. And at number 5, we have Mergers and Acquisitions, or Everything I Know About Love I Learned on the Wedding Pages by CATE DOTY, available in print and on Overdrive as an ebook and e-audiobook. Southern Belle Doty moved from North Carolina to New York City after college for love, as one does. And in very oddies Carrie Bradshaw fashion, she chronicles for readers her own love affairs and path to I Do, alongside those she reported for the New York Times Society pages after landing the gig in the early 2000s. We bounce back and forth from Doty's childhood in the South, hearing about her wedding-obsessed upbringing and her parents' and grandparents' nuptials, to Manhattan, where Doty goes from young, single clerk to a full-on editor, weighing the pros and cons of lifelong commitment, and an all-the-news that's fit-to-print announcement for herself. We also get plenty of peeks behind the industry curtain, including some wedding section selection process details, fact-checking faux pas, and a bird's-eye timeline from the first announcement in 1851 to the first same-sex announcement in 2012. A memoir through and through with a journalistic twist. Get ready for the return of in-person knot tying with this and more takes on modern marriage, like Wedding Toasts I'll Never Give by Ada Calhoun, and Loosely Knisely's graphic format memoir, Something New, Tales from a Makeshift Bride. Plus, in case you missed it, check out The Disordered Cosmos, A Journey into Dark Matter, Space-Time, and Dreams Deferred by Chanda Prescott-Weinstein, available in print and on Overdrive as an ebook and e-audiobook. Prescott-Weinstein is a particle cosmologist, and as both an assistant professor of physics and astronomy and a core faculty member in women's and gender studies at the University of New Hampshire, a rare sciences-humanities double threat. In The Disordered Cosmos, this meeting of presumably disparate academic realms sparkles. She offers up an inventive blend of quantum physics, cosmology, memoir, and sociology, unpacking for readers the intellectual colonialism that has made the night sky seemingly belong to white people alone, and her own awakening as a Black scientist. The problems of society, she argues, are the problems of the textbook, the classroom, the field. How can we make science, from the conception of it to the discussion of it to the eventual teaching of it, accessible to children of every shade, gender identity, sex identity, ethnicity, sexual orientation, romantic orientation, disability, ability, and religion, she wonders. As someone who's had to navigate the university framework as a woman of Afro-Caribbean Jewish descent who identifies as queer agender, and as the first woman to hold a tenure-track faculty position in theoretical cosmology, she's got some ideas. Black lives are star stuff and Black lives matter, all of them, she declares. A breath of fresh air in science writing. For more on the intersection between sociology and science, check out the work of fellow Black physicist Stefan Alexander, 2016's The Jazz of Physics, and the brand new Fear of a Black Universe, An Outsider's Guide to the Future of Physics. And that's it for this month. Thanks for tuning in to Denver Public Library's Friday 5 at 5. Check out or place a hold on these titles and a whole lot more right now at denverlibrary.org, link below. And be sure to tune in next month for a whole new batch of recommended reads.